Hello, welcome back. I can't believe how far along we already are in the Big Brother Season 22 All-Star season. We have just like a month left. It's just crazy. I just feel like we just started talking about when the season started and who the cast was going to be, and now we are almost finished with the season. So let's do some updates. I want to talk about Thursday's show, Sunday's show, and then some spoilers from the live feed. So let's get started and talk about all these great Big Brother things that have been happening lately. So first of all, let's talk about Thursday night, which was, of course, the eviction show when we had Kevin and Day on the block. And during the show, we saw that Memphis formed the Wise Guys alliance, two of them actually, one with Enzo and Cody, and then also one with Enzo and Christmas. So trying to set himself up to go to the end and have people on his side. So that was a big part of the show, and he thought that was too easy, forming those alliances. And one reason he did that is he thinks that he can win against like Enzo, which is why he wanted Enzo in both Wise Guys alliances, because he thinks he can win against Enzo with the jury vote at the end. But I don't think any of us do. I think we all think right now, at least, that Enzo would win against Memphis. So I'm not sure where he's getting that idea, but and of course Enzo also thinks he could win against Memphis. So he's totally good with these alliances. Going on from that, Christmas wanted to use David. She went to Memphis to discuss this plan to use David to get out Danny and Nicole, because of course no one wants to do that dirty work. No one wants to get their hands dirty and show their cards, but a lot of them want Danny out. She said, let's try to use David. Let's tell him about that Nicole, that we all know that Nicole did vote Ian out, and so that her and Danny are kind of playing you. So she did have that conversation with David and kind of planted the seed that David should kind of go after Danny and Nicole. So that was a good idea by Christmas. It seemed to work if David even does stay. And then Nicole and Danny, of course, the vote at the end of the show to see who would stay over Devon or Kevin. Nicole and Danny both voted for Devon to stay, which I thought was a little strange. They keep doing these things that are kind of, I think, harming them with the committee, which doesn't really make sense. It's kind of getting easier and easier to tell who's throwing these votes the opposite way. So I think it's a little risky, but I know they wanted to do some jury management with Day, and then Nicole did say that she told Day the very first night that she would not vote her out. I think kind of from their previous experience, the previous season. So I guess she wanted to keep that promise and also, like I said, get Day's jury vote. So that was interesting that those two voted for Devon to stay. And then we've all been speculating on who the neighbor would be. Some of us thought it was Zingbot, which Zingbot did move in, be a neighbor for that one night. But the real neighbor, of course, was Dr. Will. So it was good to see Dr. Will back as the neighbor. I don't think David knew who he was, and some of us didn't recognize him. He's definitely looking a little bit different nowadays with the gray hair and maybe some Botox going on. The internet not being very kind to Dr. Will and his looks, but he's a dermatologist. He says it's all no plastic surgery, just lasers and I'm sure Botox. So anyway, almost didn't recognize him, but it was still fun to see him back. Of course, he likes to stir things up. So he did tell the house guests at the end of the show that they should expect this week they would have to make some decisions the coming week with the HOH and the veto competitions as to whether or not they wanted to get the power or they wanted to go for some prizes, some money. So that kind of set the stage. And then we didn't see the HOH even start on Thursday's episode, which is kind of unusual. I'm trying to recall. I'm sure it's happened before in history, but if you guys remember, let me know. I don't. I'm sure it has happened before, but I know it doesn't happen very often. They usually at least start the comp on Thursday's night show, and then we either watch it on the live feeds or we don't get to see it, but then it definitely plays out on the next episode. So let me know if this has happened before where they didn't even start the comp on Thursday's show. That was pretty much Thursday's show. Let's move on to Sunday night's CBS episode. So CBS Big Brother, Sunday night, we had Danny not knowing if she should use her replay power. So she wanted to talk to Memphis. and see what he thought. And Memphis didn't really want her to use it because obviously Memphis was the HOH. So if she uses a replay, he's going to be the one that gets to play again the following week. He wasn't too excited about it. He didn't want to be HOH again. But he didn't seem to object too much to her using it. So she did wind up using it on Memphis. So Memphis was able to play again. So all the committee was able to play in the HOH for the next week. So the comp was called Going for the Green. It was kind of like a mini golf comp, which was kind of cool. That looked fun. And Tyler was the first to play, and he, of course, did go for the money. So I don't know. The people that feel pretty safe, I still think anyone is kind of making a mistake if they're not going for HOH. There's a couple people that are pretty much safe, but everyone else, I think, for sure should just be playing for HOH at this point. Tyler went for both the money and the HOH, actually. So, and then everything played out. Memphis didn't want to win either, so which is kind of interesting. He didn't want to win the money because he didn't want to have to lie about it and tell people he didn't. So he just kind of threw it. So I guess that replay thing really didn't come into play at all. It was kind of a waste. So Memphis threw everything. And then Danny, of course, did go for the money. Didn't want to be HOH again after that one crazy HOH she had where she had to put all those people up and get all that blood on her hands. So she didn't want to win either. So she went for the money. So a couple people going for the money there. Memphis totally throwing it. And then, of course, we had David actually going for HOH, trying to win HOH. And then we had Enzo going for the money as well. Enzo was very... I think Enzo feels probably one of the safest in the house, which he probably is at this point. So for him, I guess it does kind of make sense for him to go for the money. He's really on nobody's radar at this point. So he was going for the money as well. And then everyone else pretty much going for HOH. And then they didn't show this, but Cody must have hit the last ball for the money because the first ball, he didn't like a score, so he actually did a second ball. They showed him going for they kind of cut it off with him going for a second ball, trying a second ball for the HOH win, but of course he must have gone for the money too in his last try because he must have felt comfortable with his score on his second HOH try. And of course we know Cody won HOH, and then Tyler and Danny split the money, so it was a $10,000 prize, and if it was tie, they got to split it. So Tyler, Danny split $5,000, split $10,000 and got $5,000 each, and they didn't, they're not telling anybody. They both said that they're not going to tell anybody that they got the money, which of course is always a good idea to not tell people. You can't really, especially at this point in the game, you don't want anybody to use anything against you. So yeah, so $5,000 each for Tyler, Danny, Cody, HOH. And then, of course, nominations, yawn. Is anybody surprised? If anybody was still awake at this point in the game, in the CBS show, you know that Cody, of course, had an awkward conversation with Kevin, or Kevin had an awkward conversation with Cody, and that did not help his case. I'm sure it didn't matter. He was going to go up anyway. But he kind of told Cody that the world does not revolve around him, which I don't know if you should really be telling the HOH that. Even if you think it, maybe you could have saved that for another time. So Kevin's strategy not working out great for him. So of course Cody nominates David and Kevin for eviction. Like I said, yawn, snooze, and shocker. So that was pretty much Sunday's episode. Once Cody became HOH, Enzo decided to tell him about his side Wise Guy Alliance. So he fessed up to Cody that him and Memphis and Christmas have a Wise Guy Alliance, just like they do with Cody. So Cody found that interesting, but doesn't ever, like, no matter what Memphis does, for some reason, no one seems to get that upset, which I don't really get, because they get upset with Danny, they get upset with everybody else when they do kind of stuff that's shady or sneaky. But I feel like the guys like Memphis, no matter what he does, actually almost anybody, no matter what Memphis does, they're just like, oh, Memphis, So it's a little strange. Like, no one seems to really take what Memphis does to heart and really care. So for some reason, Memphis is sitting really well with that. I don't get why that's the case. But yeah, so that was pretty much everything for Sunday. So real quick, let's go over some live feed stuff that's been happening. So there must be also, which I know Dr. Will alluded to, that there's also a money prize portion of the veto comp, which has already, of course, been played. We haven't seen it yet. And I found out through the live feeds that David got money. I think he got the money, won the money from that. And he told people he was going to donate to charity, I think, from what I'm getting, or Cody is telling him to say that. Tell everybody that's the story. But it makes no sense. Cody's just flabbergasted because David is on the block, so why would you go for the money and not try to save yourself with the veto? So that's interesting thing that is going to be probably shown on the next episode, that David made another rookie mistake and went for money instead of veto when he's on the block. So yeah, interesting choice there, David. Seems like Danny definitely wants David gone, but everyone else is still leaning towards Kevin, so I'm looking like Kevin's going to go this week. Hot off the presses, Cody, I think, just won veto. So again, Cody, HOH and veto holder now. Gonna keep, and he kept the noms the same. So it's going to either be Kevin or David as the first eviction. We all know there's going to be a triple eviction. So Thursday's episode is going to be so exciting. Can't wait for that 2-hour triple eviction episode. And of course, the house guests don't know yet. So that's going to be great. So that'll really finally start to shake things up, because we're going to have either David or Kevin go. And then after that, all heck's going to break loose. It should be quite the exciting show start. Hopefully we start getting some excitement now in this last month of our Big Brother Season 22 All-Stars. We're ready for some excitement. Committees start attacking each other, getting rid of each other. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys are excited for the committee to start to turn on each other like I am, which I'm sure you are, but who you want to see go first out of the committee, and what you think about everything that's been happening on the episode so far. Leave me a comment, and then if you want to subscribe to my channel for some more Big Brother content, and also give me a like. All right, thanks for joining. We'll see you again soon.